What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. This student loan thing is not going away. And so I am going to be on top of things. I am going to be making sure that you guys stay informed because everything always comes back to the money. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. And more importantly, just dropping the video today about how I was able to go through and actually have another organization pay for me to go to school so I didn't have to put my own money up in order to make sure that I got my degree. So make sure y'all tab into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Got all the interviews in there, got the mastermind sessions, got the Patreon exclusive, so on and so forth. All right, so let's deep dive into this. So Biden student loan forgiveness, and this is courtesy of the Wall Street Journal, and I'm always got my ear to the street when it comes to the money. Biden student loan forgiveness plan could cost $400 billion. It said the extension of the student loan repayment pause will cost another $20 billion. Yeah, we just throw around these numbers like they don't mean anything. 400 billion, 20 billion, 30 trillion in debt, blah, 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 blah. And why does this matter to everyday Americans? Well, for several reasons. Number one, the national student debt, or not the national student debt, the national debt. The student debt is roughly like $2 trillion or something like that. But the national debt, according to some estimates, has eclipsed 31 trillion and all of this other type of stuff, right? More importantly, when you start to look at inflation and who's paying for all of this, because that's the question that we always want to ask ourselves. Who's paying for all of this? Well, it's you, mostly the middle class. It's not me. Because I'm always going to be looking at things from a business perspective, and I know how to maximize off of what happens in society. Let me go ahead and blow myself up here. It's not me, it's you. It's the middle class, it's the people every day going to work, and you are the ones that are complaining about the idea that rent is too high. You are the ones that are talking about mortgage rates. You are the one that's going to the gas station and saying gas is too high. You are the ones that's talking about your utility bills. You are the one that's going to the grocery store, and a lot of you, based off of your lifestyle, the inflation that you're incurring is actually a lot more than the 8 and the 9% that is at historic 40-year highs. Let's continue into the article itself. President Joe Biden's plans to cancel student debt for some borrowers will cost the federal government an additional $400 billion, according to the nonpartisan congressional budget of the office. And now you also have to take into account that this is the thing that they don't want you to really pay attention to, which is why they didn't mention it when it came to them talking about forgiving student loan debt in the first place. It's easier to catch the headlines to talk about what you think you're doing for people, which you're actually kicking a can down the road, than it is to highlight exactly what the details of this is going to be. Let's continue. The estimates released Monday are the latest to put a price tag on an administration's student loan modification plans in the absence of detailed accounting from the White House. Now, if y'all don't think that they already know exactly what this is going to cost, you're insane. You're absolutely insane. Let's continue. A range of analyst estimates reflects the considerable complexity of projecting the performance of the federal government student loan portfolio and raises questions about how the moves ultimately affect the federal budget. Do you know that more often than not, which is why we have over $30 trillion in federal debt, they can't even get their own finances in order. And so they expect to be able to get your finances in order for you. And they're not answering the question either. Coming back to the front of the congregation, highlighting how, what about the people that already paid their stuff off? Oh, good job. Pat on the back. What about the people that come later and it's not actually solving for the problem and you're going to find yourself in the same exact position later? Oh, don't worry about it. And then the NAACP and all of the blackity blacks continue to advocate for more. And so we have people continuing to go and use student loans, and they're not actually fixing the problem. So they're using student loans and they're getting these basket weaving degrees, and they're spending $150,000 to get a social worker master's degree. And they're making $60,000 talking about, I need you, Daddy Biden, to forgive my student loans. The CBO estimates the administration's decision to extend the suspension of the student loan payments between September and December 2022 will increase the cost of outstanding student loans by $20 billion. meaning that interest and you servicing the loans and the fact that they're not getting paid as a result of that is actually costing the government another $20 billion. After accounting for those suspensions, the administration's plans to cancel up to $20,000 in student debt for certain borrowers will increase the government's cost by student loans by additional of student loans by an additional $400 billion. Estimates are highly uncertain. They're probably pretty accurate. And considering that we don't have anything else to go off of, the only thing that we can do is try to break down the $1.7 trillion in student loan debt that people have accumulated and continue to whine about. The most uncertain components are the projections of how much borrowers would repay if the executive action canceling debt had not been undertaken and how much they will repay under that executive action. Those projections depend in part on future economic conditions and on how the terms of the loan might be modified in the future. The office released estimates in response to inquiries from Senator Richard Burr and Representative Virginia Foxx, both Republicans of North Carolina. Mr. Biden in August announced a multi-tiered strategy to offer Americans student loan relief, including a plan to forgive student loan debt for those making up $125,000 a year, or for married couples, $250,000 a year. So this is another way in which we slice this pie and we say, yo, married people benefit more than single people. Because if you're a married guy that make over 100, over 150, over $200,000, and then your chick is just chilling, you also qualify. An extension of a pandemic pause on student loan payments and changes to income-driven repayment plans. The CBO's analysis didn't include estimates of the cost estimates or the cost effects of the income-driven repayment provisions. The White House has said that the debt cancellation portion of the overall plan would reduce revenue the government receives from student loan payments by about $240 billion over a decade and hasn't released estimates comparable to the CBO's projections. Now, here's the question that you have to ask yourself. Was the federal government depending on you servicing the loan in order for them to fill holes in a budget in the first place? Because that money has to be repaired for somewhere. We keep on passing the Build Back Better plan and the infrastructure bill and the student loan payments pause and cancellations and all of that. Meanwhile, they continue to say tax more, eat the rich. Inflation is going up. People can't afford homes or rent or so on and so forth. And the government continues to be even more bloated because we continue to lean on them in order to make sure that we can even survive. We need less government, not more government. In the absence of such estimates, analysts and deficit watchers have relied on private forecasts, which vary widely, complicating efforts to understand how the challenges will affect the federal budget. The Penn-Wharton budget model, whose analysis is frequently cited for policymakers, has said the total program could cost $1 trillion with the price tags of up to $519 billion for the debt cancellation portion over 10 years. And they just are smiling all the way to the bank because they know that they already finessed you and you are going to fall right back into the same boat, despite the fact that every single analyst's estimate point to this being a disaster and it not actually solving for a problem, but it continues to add to the problem because it also ties you to the federal government as far as making sure that you're on their titty, which is the thing that they keep saying that destroyed the families in the first place. Let me know what you guys think. I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. These are just my opinions. I'm open to the possibility that I'm wrong, but I absolutely doubt it. Make sure, again, that you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And if you need to email me, get in touch with me, Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com. We're going to get you for a Zoom call or a personal phone call to make sure you're not fumbling bag out here. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace. Make sure you tell your family and friends too, because we don't want to be rich by ourselves.